By now, you've probably come across the idea that more than half of all the wealth on Earth is controlled by just 1% of the population, the elites, as they like to call themselves. Imagine a world where the rules are written in invisible ink, where the strings of power are pulled not by elected officials, but by shadowy titans who move their pieces from behind fortified gates. In today's deep dive, we expose the hidden architecture of elite control, how the few bend reality to their will, and how every scandal, every crisis, every headline serves their grand design. This is How the Elites Stay in Power. 1. Follow the money. If there is one rule the elites have mastered, then it's that whoever controls the money controls the game. It begins with money raw, unyielding, and ever-expanding. Picture fortunes so immense they rival the GDP of entire nations. What most people don't understand, however, is that these fortunes don't merely sit in vaults. They're constantly being deployed to fuel a web of influence that stretches from gleaming corporate boardrooms to the marble halls of government. They bankroll political campaigns, flood party coffers, and grease the wheels of power. In Washington, D.C., corridors hum with lobbyists dispatched by Wall Street giants and energy conglomerates, their briefcases heavy with cash earmarked for friendly legislators. Every dollar invested is a whisper in a senator's ear or a nudge on a regulator's desk. In their world, he who pays the piper calls the tune isn't a proverb. It's the unvarnished truth. Think back to the 2008 financial collapse. While Main Street buckled under foreclosures, the architects of the crisis, investment bankers and hedge fund magnates, lobbied for a $700 billion bailout. Their arguments took shape in glossy reports issued by think tanks they funded to create narratives that claimed saving too-big-to-fail banks was a necessity for us all. And when the government opened its coffers, the rescue packages flowed not into neighborhood banks, but straight onto the balance sheets of the very firms whose risky gambles had brought the system to its knees. 2. Shaping minds. Yet money alone doesn't rewrite minds, and the elites know it. This brings us to the most powerful tool yet in their arsenal, the shaping of people's perception. One of the most well-guarded esoteric secrets is that your perception literally shapes the reality around you. Ever heard of the phrase, "you are what you think you are"? Well, what they don't tell you is that the world around you is also what you think it is. And the elites understand this only too well. So, what do? Everything in their power to shape your mind. Every evening, millions tune in to channels owned by 6 mega conglomerates where the framing of a single story can steer collective belief. Behind those talking heads, algorithms in social media backrooms learn our fears and desires, serving us news that keeps us scrolling and spending. Universities, too, play their part via endowed chairs and research grants that ensure only certain truths gain academic prestige. Consequently, we grow up chanting the meritocracy myth that anyone can rise by their own grit, all the while oblivious to the hidden ladders of legacy admissions, exclusive alumni networks, and generational trusts that guarantee plum internships and corner office seats. 3. The law is on their side. After the narrative is set, the real magic happens inside legislative chambers where the rules themselves are written. We are talking intellectual property laws, tax codes filled with loopholes for the wealthy, and complex financial regulations that all become a fortress too intricate for the ordinary masses to breach. Should you challenge it, be prepared for armies of high-powered lawyers. The legal system, after all, favors those who can afford to play at every turn. But what if the masses grow restless? Of course, power must defend itself. So when voices rise in protest, the establishment offers just enough concessions to snuff out real revolt, co-opting charismatic leaders or folding radical demands into toothless reforms. They stoke cultural and ethnic divisions, pitting neighbor against neighbor. Behind the scenes, the gears of the surveillance state track every dissenting tweet and text message. In moments of crisis, be it a recession, a pandemic, or social unrest, they seize the narrative of emergency, enacting policies that concentrate even more wealth and authority at the top, under the guise of necessity. And it's easy to imagine that this is not happening in our country. But just think about it. Who gets to tell you who our enemies are? Is there anyone you're not allowed to criticize? Are all social problems being blamed on a particular group of people while absolving all the blame from the politicians? Bingo classic redirection right there. Hans 4. Fear. In his book, The Prince, Niccolo Machiavelli lets us into one of the most powerful secrets the elites have known for decades. If you cannot both be loved and feared, it is better to be feared than loved. Fear is their most potent instrument because when you're afraid, you clam up. You look for someone to keep you safe, and that's precisely when the strings of control tighten. Across history, rulers have stoked existential dread to justify extraordinary measures. In the 1930s Germany, the Reichstag fire panic paved the way for Adolf Hitler's emergency decrees. Citizens, terrified of communism and chaos, willingly surrendered civil liberties for the promise of order. Fast forward to today. The same pattern repeats in subtler, yet equally insidious ways. Consider the modern security theater, airports full of scanners, pat-downs, and X-ray machines. The underlying promise is comforting. Hand over your privacy and we'll shield you from terrorism. Meanwhile, shadowy agencies compile mountains of metadata on innocent citizens. Politicians thrive on crises. A well-timed scandal or a viral incident can trigger a moral panic. Violent crime surges. Immigrant caravans approach. Foreign agents meddle in elections. Cable news panels amplify worst-case scenarios while dismissing voices of calm. As fear escalates, citizens trade freedom for the illusion of safety by supporting draconian border laws, expanded police powers, or digital censorship. All the while, think tanks and PR firms are fanning these flames. They generate studies warning of gang violence or epidemic outbreaks. Funded by special interests, whether private prison operators or pharmaceutical giants, these reports land on lawmakers' desks as objective truth. Legislators then craft hastily written bills that extend the reach of law enforcement, often with little debate or oversight. The result is that society splinters along ethnic, religious, or ideological lines, sowing distrust. This divide and rule strategy ensures that grievances remain local and parochial, rather than uniting the masses around systemic issues like economic inequality or corporate malfeasance. 5. Censorship and information control. But what happens when some people or groups simply refuse to conform? Welcome to the realm of censorship and information control. Long before the internet, rulers silenced dissent with blunt force, like the book burnings in Imperial China or the Soviet Union's ruthless purging of counter-revolutionary writers. But those methods were crude, obvious, and easy to rebel against. Today's censorship is surgical. It operates not with torches, but through algorithms, corporate policies, and community standards, all clothed in the language of safety and civility. On social media platforms, content moderation teams wield the power to vanish entire perspectives with a single click. A post questioning financial bailouts, a video exploring some false narrative about a war, or a tweet exposing a politician's back-channel deal. Any of these can be flagged, demonetized, or deleted without warning or transparency. Even worse, the elites will sponsor content that attacks such people in an effort to discredit them and paint them as deranged. Major tech companies insist they merely enforce neutral rules to curb hate speech or disinformation. Yet those rules are written behind closed doors, influenced by corporate partnerships and government lobbying. When a video critical of a deep state operation disappears, it raises the question, who determines what qualifies as truth and what counts as dangerous? And if the answer lies in an opaque data center thousands of miles away, how can the average person push back? The elite's playbook may seem complex, but its core is simple. Amass wealth, shape perception, codify rules, wield fear, and silence dissent. Yet every fortress has cracks. Whistleblowers expose hidden agendas, independent journalists illuminate secret deals, and informed citizens can unite across divisions. Awareness is the spark that ignites resistance. Once we recognize the mechanisms of control, we reclaim our power and rewrite the rules in our favor.